Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and this video is going to answer the question of what is the best Ergo mouse currently on the market, featuring the deathadder V3 Pro and the ZOWIE EC wireless series. I picked up the EC3 wireless, which I didn't even know existed, for $150 on Amazon, which kind of inspired this video. I've been using it head-to-head, comparing it with the deathadder V3 Pro and also the EC2 wireless, and I've just come to some crazy conclusions. One of which is I just don't really know what the appeal is with the ZOWIE, aside from the fact that it just hasn't changed and it's the same, like everything is the same as it always has felt. The EC3, which is the smallest shape, does come in at 76 grams, while the EC2 wireless comes in at 78. So the EC3 does just have a kind of small and dense feeling to it, especially when you compare it with the deathadder V3 Pro. And the Faker edition actually comes in at 61 grams. I didn't know that it's actually lighter than the other versions, which are 63 and 64, I believe. And yeah, I'm not saying that this 10 to 15 gram difference is going to make or break the mouse, and everybody has a different preference and opinion on mouse weight, but for what I'm looking for, ZOWIE being heavier doesn't really add anything to the experience. I much prefer the larger and lighter, just more pleasant, better weight distribution deathadder V3 Pro over the ZOWIE options in game. I also feel like the stock skates on the ZOWIE mice kind of give them a sort of sluggish feel on control pads, but obviously I could just change those if I fucking wanted to. But yeah, something else worth considering, especially if you don't have either of these mice already, because I would imagine a lot of people watching this video just want to see what I think about the Ergo mouse they're using, is if you've used a super light in the past, the deathadder is going to feel a lot closer to that, where with ZOWIE it's going to feel like you're going a step back in terms of weight, in my opinion, at least, with how the mice feel. But if you don't have either of the mice and you have a ZOWIE mouse, you're just going to get the exact same thing in wireless if you decide to go for that option, which I feel like is just, it's something. There is a cult-like following of ZOWIE mice, especially among CS players. I've been asking people, trying to find out what it is, and it seems like the clicks have something to do with it. It's just the build quality and the clicks are really the only things that I've been able to mark down as reasons people are fucking fanboying so hard over ZOWIE mice. So yeah, with the clicks, they are Juanos, and the implementation is very solid. What's special, if anything, about them is just how light they are, and that they're one of the few non-split off shell designs that actually has a good click feeling. There is going to be a pretty good amount of post-travel, but it's kind of understood now that post-travel doesn't take away from a mouse click experience, and if anything, it gives it a bit more rebound and bounciness, as long as the click itself isn't like super creaky. So yeah, there's really no problems with the ZOWIE clicks, but I am not somebody who just has fallen in love with them and legitimately cannot click another mouse because of it. I feel like the optical switches on the deathadder V3 are more than good enough. They do have a slightly dull feeling since they are not mechanical, obviously. Also have some nice like motorcycles going by or something. But yeah, they're a high quality experience. I've clicked them probably millions of times by now, and yeah, they're light, they're good in game, and that's really all I need from a click. I don't need the unquantifiable characteristic that ZOWIE clicks seem to have. In terms of click latency, there's not going to be a real world difference. Yes, Razer is going to technically test better, especially if you have the 4000 hertz polling rate dongle, but it's not something that you're really going to notice in game. But I guess this is a good segue into the tech on the mouse, and this is where I'm just going to be honest. With ZOWIE, you are paying $150 for a 3370. You do get this enhanced receiver with a charging dock, but with Razer, you literally get the best internals on the market. You guys got to realize they lock these sensors up for 18 months at a time. Nobody else can use them, and then eventually people are allowed to come out with them. It happened with the 3395. It's going to happen with the 3950. So yeah, it is the best sensor experience on the market. And I thought that since ZOWIE waited so long to come out with their wireless implementation, that it was going to have 4000 hertz polling rate. And I thought that because of ZOWIE's 360 hertz monitors with the DIAC, you figured they would want to go all out on mouse implementation and then just have the smoothest gaming experience all around. But it seems like they felt that 1000 hertz was enough, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not like I feel like I'm any worse because I'm on 1000 hertz, but I've just come to appreciate and kind of gotten used to a 4000 hertz. So yeah, when it comes to wireless, I don't think it's possible to give the edge to ZOWIE. They have a perfectly fine wireless implementation, but at the same price point, you are getting more innovation from Razer, I guess is a good way to put it. And with 4,000 hertz polling rate, if you don't think it's noticeable, like you need to get your eyes checked, or you need a higher refresh rate monitor, or just less wireless interference in your setup. That's a thing I notice a lot of people when they complain about wireless tech not working well. It's like, well, it's your fault, man. Like, why do you have a router 2 inches away from you? But that is getting off the point now to some other features of the mice to compare. I'm trying to think of something where ZOWIE has a strong point. I guess the build quality. Not much really needs to be said. Like, it's a ZOWIE mouse. It is built like a tank. You're going to be able to throw this against a wall. Should I do that right now? Nah, I have like fucking drywall. It would like break the wall. But yeah, I don't know if it's really just placebo because of the higher weight, but it definitely does have a slightly stronger like structure feeling than the Razer mice, which I do, if I really squeeze, I can feel the plastic bend a bit, but it's nothing that I notice in game whatsoever. So yeah, I definitely can give an edge to ZOWIE when it comes to actual build quality and structure, but it's more so that it's very impressive rather than the Razer build quality being bad, at least on the multiple copies of these mice that I've had now. When it comes to shapes, that's another thing where ZOWIE has the edge. Obviously, you can choose your size. If you have small hands, go with the EC3. Everybody knows what the EC2 shape is like, and if you have freakishly large hands, you can get an EC1. The deathadder V3 Pro is slightly larger than the EC2, but not as large as the EC1, but they don't have a mini version of the shape. I have been begging for one for a while, but it doesn't seem like they plan to make one. So currently, if you do have small hands, I would give the edge to the EC3, and even with larger hands like 21 by 11, I still do like the EC3 shape. The common complaint I see is with people who like place their fingers towards the top of the clicks because it is such a short mouse, but for me personally, I like how aggressively I can grip the mouse and just have a lot of control over it, and I don't have any issues with finger placement on it. So yeah, don't get me wrong, even though I feel that ZOWIE is kind of outclassed just features wise, I do understand that shape and just comfort plays a big role, and a lot of people do feel comfortable with these mice. So I'm not saying there's a problem with that, but if I was going for one, didn't have either, it would definitely be the deathadder V3 Pro. There's some other stuff like battery life, where it's obviously going to be dependent on how high of a polling rate you're running with the deathadder V3, while it's just very good with the 1000 hertz implementation on ZOWIE, and you of course have the charging dock whenever you need. Even though I do feel like that's a weird feature to like soy out over, like plugging your mouse in is ultimately not a big deal. Other than that, the stock skates, I give the edge to Razer. Scroll wheel, I give the edge to Razer as well. I'm not a huge fan of the notchy ZOWIE wheels, even though they have toned down the notchiness a little bit as they've updated the mice. And side buttons, I think it's a toss-up. I think ZOWIE and Razer both have the best side buttons in the game. There's truly nothing to complain about on either when it comes to quality issues, but I would say the deathadder V3 Pro has the crispest and just lightest feeling side buttons. They're really the gold standard. When it comes to coating on the Faker Edition, it's practically the exact same coating as ZOWIE. So it's going to be a rubberized matte coating, and it's a bit weird because it just always feels moist, but it like uses that moisture to keep the feeling locked in. I don't have any issues with slipperiness, but as you can see, it does leave some prints on ZOWIE and leaves similar prints on Razer. Not sure if the camera picks it up, but the standard black and white deathadders have a pretty chalky coating that, in my opinion, does not feel as premium as the Faker Edition's coating or the ZOWIE coatings. And yeah, it's about all I have to say when it comes to comparing the top Ergo options on the market. Obviously, whichever you go with, you're going to be getting a solid product. You just pick whichever you think is going to fit both your hand and preferences in a mouse best. And yeah, obviously for me, the deathadder V3 Pro is the best fit, but I'm very interested if you are a ZOWIE user and you've made it to this point in the video, let me know why you use ZOWIE mice, like over other more modern options, and how long you've been using ZOWIE. Just very interested in the responses to those two questions. But yeah, that's going to be about all for the video. I will leave all of the mice linked below in the description. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more mouse reviews in the future. Woohoo. Peace out.